brown-eyed girl. Right, great to have you with us for breakfast, obviously. So here's the thing, you know that we often give advice when we're talking about advice, like Christmas parties and that. So you have a work Christmas party and you go out, get horribly drunk with, you know, the people that you work with and your boss, and you can't show up the next day or the next year because you've made a complete arse of yourself. Lady Danielle Di-Masi is our etiquette expert and joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely to see you again. So
Thank
we're talking Facebook because it is, if you like, a form of Christmas party. It's socialising with people that you work with and potentially your boss. We'll talk about what you do with your boss later. But should you be a little bit careful involving your colleagues at work in your personal life on Facebook?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think you should. It's completely up to you. If you do engage with them on Facebook, then you need to understand what content you have on there and what your job is. So if your job is working at a bar, then it might be reasonable that you have, you know, drunken, crazy photos on your Facebook. If you're working in investment banking, maybe not so much.
Does it come down to answering that question, are my colleagues my friends? Like, obviously you want to get on with them well, but are they your friends?
Well, that's another really good question, because you need to have the boundaries. I think it's just a completely personal choice, as long as you do it diplomatically. If you want to have them on there and they send you requests and you say, yes, I'll have you on there, then you've got privacy settings, and that's my biggest advice.
We'll talk about the privacy settings in a second, because the most important thing is, what do you do with your boss? All of a sudden, you're invited to become a bestie with your boss. What do you do?
On Facebook, a bestie?
Yeah.
The real bestie. So I think that you have to accept it. Because if you ignore it, then they're going to think, well, why? And I think that a boss should not be sending that request, first of all.
Yep.
But if your boss sends you a request, I think that you need to accept it. And then, like we said, we'll talk about the privacy settings.
Okay, and the other way around, is there ever an appropriate time to invite your boss to be your... No?
No. I think that needs to be their call, but
because there are lines.
I think that's a line.
If you're an employer, if you have a lot of managers working under you, wouldn't it be a good idea to set as a criteria for the operation of the internet that you do not involve yourself on Facebook with people who are under you, your subordinates? Absolutely,
and there's lots of policies in companies around that, but people don't necessarily read them or follow them.
What are the horrors? What are the big few things that could go wrong if you do that? If you best friend your boss?
Your best friend, your boss, you might tweet, you might put on your Facebook status that you're having a sick day and really I'm just sitting back watching 10, or at the beach, so forth, or there might be really awkward photos that you don't want on there, any sort of conversation, any sort of conduct that might make you seen in a different light. And you have a persona and you have a profile at work that's very professional, and then Facebook should be your private space.
And it can come back and bite you in the bottom.
Absolutely.
Kind of this sort of thing, because it hangs around.
Yeah,
all right, what are the suggestions for people who are already cringing at times because they know their boss, their colleagues are part of Facebook with them?
Yes, well, that's what we were talking about before, and that's your privacy settings. And I think everyone should be engaging in this. You can have special groups, so you say work colleagues. So as soon as someone sends you a request, you can say yes if that's what you want to do, and put them straight onto a list that says work colleagues, and then you can say they don't see any certain photos unless you say, oh, that's a nice headshot or a professional photo, or me reading a book, so they can see that photo, or a certain status update.
Photos of you at work?
Yes, absolutely.
You can get photos of you working hard.
Yeah, like that, posing at the keyboard,
How was that again? Let's just have another look. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, the key thing with these privacy settings, because you can do it now, and people don't know that effectively what you've done is downgraded them in your private life.
They won't know unless they're absolutely stalking their page. If they are on your page 100% of the time and they do know the difference, then, you know, they need even tighter settings around them. But they won't know, or just your page will just change, and there's so many changes.
Now, one of the things that you often say is you liken what you put on Facebook to getting a tattoo, which is pretty extreme, if you don't mind me saying, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So with tattoo advice, you say don't put anything on there that you don't want to see in 5, 10, 50 years' time, because Facebook, Twitter, online, anything stays on there forever.
Lady Danielle, thank you very much. Always very, very sensible, very, very sensible. And you're on the Facebook machine, you're on the Facebook machine.
No, I'm off it.
I
get on and off, because I just didn't like all these people wanting a bit of you.
I know, I know.
Could you ever have a private and a personal setting?
Some people definitely do that. Or nicknames, and so people can't find you.
Yeah.
Aliases.
Might get onto that.
Nicknames, so you're running a separate life.
Exactly. It kind of sounds interesting, right? More coming up on breakfast.
I'm so glad that I'm not part of that world.